Okay, let's dive straight into the explainer. Today, we're taking a journey deep into the All That's Holy, or ATH, system to uncover the dual gravity law. We are going to completely redefine how you view the fundamental forces that hold our universe together. So if you thought you had a pretty good handle on the basics of physics, get ready, because we're about to experience a profound paradigm shift.
Right off the bat, I want to ask you something. What if gravity isn't a pulling force at all? Seriously, think about that. I want you to imagine taking that classic, outdated rubber trampoline model of space, the one we've all seen a million times in textbooks with the heavy bowling balls sinking into a grid, and just completely shatter it. It's an illusion. It's actually a fundamental misunderstanding of the cosmos. We really need to clear the slate right here and now, because the true mechanics of the universe operate on a much, much more magnificent and active level.
So let's aggressively clear away those old illusions. The old myth basically dictates that gravity is just a passive pulling force, like a heavyweight bending a flat plane. But the absolute physical reality, as defined by the ATH system, is incredibly dynamic. Gravity is absolutely not a force invented by mainstream math. It is the active, dynamic, relational meeting point of opposing curvature streams. We are literally talking about the continuous collision of glowing three-dimensional energy streams constantly seeking balance inside a breathing, 13-layer toroidal sphere. Think of it way less like a bowling ball on a trampoline and much more like two incredibly powerful rivers colliding and swirling together to find a stable center.
Here is the absolutely crucial point to remember. Gravity is exactly defined as the relational meeting point where positive curvature in motion and negative curvature in motion meet, relative to a third body. Now that relative to a third body part, that is paramount. Nothing in the All That's Holy system happens in a vacuum. It is always a relational meeting. You have two highly active streams, matter, which is positive curvature moving one way, and the space field, which is negative curvature moving the exact opposite way. And their interaction only actually manifests as gravity when measured against a third observer or object's specific properties.
Let's break down this cosmic map a bit. We're looking at the three base particles of curvature in motion. You've got the positive bit, the negative bit, and the balance, or half curvature bit. Notice that glowing outbreath of positive expansion radiating and pushing outward? That's driving creation. And then it's perfectly countered by this in-breath of negative compression pulling inward, which holds reality in form. These aren't just solid dead dots floating around. They are living functions of creation and structure, bound together into absolute stillness by that central harmony of the half-spin bridge.
Now you might be wondering, how on earth does the universe keep track of all this incredible motion? Well, it turns out there are 7 absolute cosmic dependencies that lock into the system's ledger. For gravity to occur, it requires a very strict system readout. We need body A's curvature, body B's curvature, and the exact position of that third body reference. But that's not all. The system also strictly demands the object's shape, size, mass index, and its current mag, or magnitude data. All 7 of these lock into it's basically a holographic data ledger to define exactly how and where these curvature streams are going to interact. Gravity is an index difference. It's a precise accounting of all these factors happening all at once.
This specific architecture brilliantly illustrates the physical mechanism at play. It tells us that size anchors magnitude, shape distributes curvature, and density resists recursion. What's absolutely fascinating here is that it proves shape and size aren't just abstract geometric concepts. They are the literal physical mechanisms that hold these energy streams. In this system, geometry is not just a description of physics, geometry is the actual mechanism that creates the physics.
Since we just brought up mass index, let's define it clearly so we're all on the same page. Mass index is the exact curvature load, whether that's positive or negative, measured against the 13-layer membrane's size, shape, and density capacity. Think of mass index, along with that current mag data, as the stored curvature storage capacity of the geometry. It acts as the actual memory of the cosmos. This memory dictates the tension within the system, guiding exactly where those moving curvatures will be forced to meet next to balance out the overall breathing of the universe.
So what happens when these curvature streams finally do cross paths in this living system? It boils down to a beautifully simple rule of resonance. Lichen curvatures attract each other. They actively seek to merge into balance. Dislichen curvatures, on the other hand, repel and violently force each other apart. So we're not dealing with some mysterious magical pulling force radiating from the center of a dead mass. It's the natural dynamic interaction of these streams, just trying to smooth out tension. Lichen flows naturally drift together to merge, while opposing flows violently push back against each other to maintain their boundaries.
Zooming out for a second to the macro scale, we find the cosmic curvature engine, sometimes called the God thing, at the balance limit. What we're looking at is the equal latch. That's the exact supreme central node where positive and negative flows naturally collide, balance out, and lock together. See, the universe isn't some empty void. It is a living organism undergoing a continuous metabolic exchange. Positive flows constantly feed suns to keep them active, and negative flows feed black holes to keep them dense. The meeting point at the equal latch is literally the engine supplying fresh curvature to both of them forever.
Okay, this brings us to a massive climax in our understanding. What happens when this collision between positive and negative streams freezes locally? That is the birth of matter. Matter is not some fundamental, standalone substance floating around in an empty room. Matter is born when positive and negative curvatures bind together, completely lose their free motion, and freeze into a solid knot. The energy streams slam together. They resolve their curvature debt, basically balancing out their physical checkbooks, and what gets left behind is a highly stable, glowing packet of resolved memory. That frozen knot of geometry, that is exactly what we call an atom.
To put that into perspective, let's see how this builds an actual element. This is the true curvature mapping for boron in the ATH elemental chart. This incredibly magnificent, complex structure represents the exact moment the opposing curvatures surrender their motion to the membrane. You can see the balanced negative curvature storage, with this incredibly strong cohesion in the structural bands. It's absolutely not a random collection of tiny billiard balls. It's a living, breathing geometry favoring a stable equilibrium. It is curvature trapped in a magnificent frozen dance.
Now, if matter is just frozen motion, then what exactly is time? We need to completely shift the paradigm here. Time is quite simply the exact reaction speed and exchange rate of the meeting between positive and negative curvatures. That's it. It is not an independent, invisible dimension ticking away in the background. If there is no change in magnitude, meaning no curvature exchange is happening, there is literally no time experienced in the system. Time is just the geometric delay. It's the measurement of how fast the system is changing. High curvature and high magnitude cause time to compress, while low curvature causes it to stretch out.
And the amazing part is all of this is strictly mathematically mapped out in the ATH closed number system. Notice how it isn't just flat abstract math scrawled on a chalkboard. It's a beautifully glowing holographic field where every single equation represents physical curvature breathing across a closed loop. You can actually see the critical mass thresholds, the infinity -1, infinity, and infinity +1 states. This mathematically proves that gravity is an index interaction. It's a natural drift toward equilibrium across a 13-layer lattice, where motion simply measures the change in stored curvature memory. So let's contrast this natural gravity with something we harness literally every single day, DC power. While gravity is the natural drift freezing into a stable skin, which as we know now creates matter, DC power is the active interception of moving curvature. Instead of letting those positive and negative streams naturally freeze into a solid, persistent knot, power generation forces them to meet, stops their natural freezing process in its tracks, and extracts their dynamic motion to make motion on the cell level. Power is literally grabbing the wires of space while they are moving and forcing them to turn a completely different gear.
I'm going to leave you with this final, incredibly impactful quote straight from the All That's Holy source material. Matter is the frozen echo of the moment when positive and negative curvature in motion met, bound, and surrendered their motion. Next time you knock on wood or look up at a massive mountain, I really challenge you to look at that solid world differently. It's not just a static lump of stuff. It is just a perfectly balanced, beautifully frozen cosmic collision. And it leaves you wondering, if our bodies and our entire physical reality are just frozen curvature knots, what exactly happens to us when the universe takes its next massive inward breath and our internal magnitude shifts? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning everything, and I'll see you next time.